Eva, Laura, Katie Gray, Nanny Kayani, Lil Gold, Lily Gold. oh. Oh, hey, Laurel. Good to see ya. Hey, Margie. Hi, Grace. Hi, Shoshana. Shalom. Welcome. And we're going to get started here with our guest in a minute. Laurel, I'd love to have you on, too. I'm going to send you a DM. All right. Let's get this party started. Okay, cool. All right. I'm going to write myself a note so I don't forget, because I have like perpetual mommy brain and I forget everything. So I'm writing it down. How's everybody doing today? Hey, Joy. Hi, Mo612. Let's see. Hi, Broadway Hollywood. Back again. How's everybody doing this afternoon? Hey, Carla. You sent a request. Why am I not getting it? Oh, there it is. Okay. It disappeared. I'm sending you why this happening. Technology.
Yay!
You're the young person. You're supposed to like help me with this tech stuff.
I'm like, I think this is the first time I've done this. Well, no, someone requested to be on my live one time, but this is the first time I've requested to be on someone's live.
We got it. Welcome.
We got it. Hi, thanks.
Hi, good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Oh, Gabby's on here. Hey, Gabby.
Hi, Gabby. She's downstairs.
Nice. Grace, you said you're struggling, but here. Okay, well, hopefully this lifts you up a little bit. So I'm going to introduce us. I'm Dr. Alisa Hurwitz. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I'm Dr. Drama on the side, where I lecture about, interview about the intersection of psychology and mental health. Psychology and mental health, psychology and theater. I think it's been a little bit of a long day. And my guest today is Ezra Menas. Do I say your last name correctly?
That's right. Perfect.
Okay. I'm always afraid I'm saying people's names wrong because names are important. So Ezra Menas. Ezra is in Jagged Little Pill, which is in intermission right now, and also is in the upcoming Steven Spielberg film of West Side Story, playing anybody's. I'm so excited to see that
Me too.
when that is ready to come out and join the world. So welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you on here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, my pleasure. So my first question, before I get to my first question, please, folks, comments, questions. We'll get to as many questions as we can while we're having this ongoing conversation. So be part of the conversation with us and ask questions. How are you doing?
You know, it's such an interesting question during this time, isn't it? For the most part, healthy, safe, food secure.
Yep.
But emotionally, it's been up and down. I'm thankful enough to have access to therapy weekly. I've been able to maintain that.
Great.
And the Actors Equity has been providing healthcare, throughout. If you were about to lose it, like you have it continued. So I have that access to that. So it's good. We're all like learning this time and everything is so uncertain. So I think we just consistently feel the weight of that, and it kind of holds a microscope to our emotions throughout the day, or at least mine.
Yeah. No, it's like a roller coaster, right?
Yeah.
So some days
so if you have all of those, you know, you're food secure, you have, you know, your housing secure, you have your health, then it's like, it's still an emotional roller coaster because
Yeah.
we're all at home surviving a pandemic. We're not
Yep.
just like at home on vacation,
Right.
or, you know, working remotely. We're like surviving a pandemic while trying to get work done at home remotely.
Yeah.
And some days are good and some days aren't. And just, you know, one of the themes of these conversations has 100% been honoring where you're at. If it's a crappy day, it's okay.
Yep.
You know, and if it's a good day, that's okay too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Somebody who, first of all, has a fantastic screen name, Delusions of Gender. Love that. Said, as it's not fair that your hair looks that good during quarantine.
I blew it out especially for y'all, so
Yes.
it doesn't always look like this.
So how has it been adjusting to, I mean, the professional part of your life, you know, where, you know, you're an Olympic athlete of the stage, and then that way of, you know, of being an actor just came to a screeching halt.
Yeah, thank you first of all for saying Olympic athlete of the stage. That's like, I've never heard that before. That's amazing. It
But it's
feels
like
like
that, right?
Yeah.
Because you when you're performing 8 times a week, your life has to revolve around your performance.
It
And
truly
to me,
does.
that's Olympic level.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel that way. Everything kind of caters to our profession, and you have to manage your time and take care of yourself for your job.
Yeah.
In different ways. I mean, everyone has to, but it's very physically, emotionally, and emotionally taxing. So, especially with this show, Jagged, as you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a really big transition. I gave myself about 2 weeks. I'm a person who likes to move. Like, I move every night in my show, 8 times a week, and I like to move outside of the show as well. Like, I love lifting weights, I love feeling strong, doing cardio. Like, that just gives me euphoria. And I spent like 2.5, maybe the first 2 weeks, just completely doing nothing and like allowing myself to just like feel that, and not forcing myself to do something that didn't feel good, because it was so confusing. And even now, like, I've been telling people, some of my friends, like, the nighttime is the hardest because that's when we're supposed to be getting ready to go to work. So like the daytime, I'm like, okay. And especially if the sun's out, I'm thankful enough to have, like, lucky enough to have a backyard. So like I have access to nature and outdoors in the sun. And so the daytime is kind of like set. But then when the night hits, like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I'm like, okay, now my body knows, like, it's time to get on the train, go to work. And it feels strange not to be able to release that energy that we get to every night in 3 hours. So it's been a transition for sure. And I've noticed that my routine has lately shifted to like working out at night. So that's kind of like fulfilling the physical aspect of it. And we've gotten to create a few videos for Jagged. Like, they teamed up with Broadway Green Alliance and for the GLAAD Awards. So that, like, dancing in this room, in this tiny room, and singing and dancing along and pretending as if I'm like doing the show, that has also been like a relief and an outlet for me to feel connected to that, and finding other ways to as well, if it feels good, like playing guitar, learning a song, just like releasing the creativity and letting it flow through.
And it doesn't even have to be in a way that's a product or going to be presented to other people, right?
Right.
You're a person, so it can be for yourself.
Yes, I think especially now for this time, it's like very important that we're doing things for ourselves and not for a product, because productivity is such a theme of this quarantine time. Like, oh, and now I have all this time on my hands. Like, now I can start this project and I can learn X, Y, and Z, or become proficient in X, Y, and Z. And it's like, you don't have to do that. You can just lay on your couch all day and watch Netflix, and that is absolutely valid and perfectly normal and great. Normal. It's like, that is what feels good to you, and we're all navigating this differently, and different days, might have different activities, and that's fine.
Yeah. There was this funny thing at the beginning, you know, where it seemed like before we kind of adjusted to it, there was this productivity porn of like, you know, Shakespeare wrote, you know, his great works while he was in quarantine. And I think that quickly got stomped on as like, you know, some kind of unreal expectation. Because this, again, this is not a vacation, although there might be times that it feels happy or comfortable for people. This is surviving a pandemic. Yeah. And if that's all you do today, that's enough. Yeah. You know, if you play the guitar for yourself on top of that, fantastic. If you don't, fantastic.
Yep.
Right.
Both are great.
Yep. We were talking a little bit about Jagged, and I've been really wanting to ask you about if you're open to talking about the night that you went on as Joe. That experience. I'm sure there are some people who are watching right now who would love to hear about that, who might have even been there that night, because I know that meant a lot to folks who in the trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming community, to have that representation in a lead role. And that energy I know was out there. What was it like for you to go on as Joe in the show?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to put into words, because it was just like the most unreal experience, but also like the most real experience. You know what I mean? Like at the same time, it was like surreal and real. I actually very much described my time on the West Side Story set like that. I was like, it's so real. Like I'm here, and all these people are people, and they're human, and they're so kind, and like the experience is incredible, and also it's surreal. I'm like, I can't believe I'm here, you know. So it was kind of like that. I was so nervous. Like a week before, this is so like me. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't even want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm good. I'm like, bro, you have to do it. Like, this is your job. There's no choice. Yeah. And, you know, thankfully with, you know, my support system here, my sister, my girlfriend, Gabby, everybody at the show was just like so supportive and talking me up and getting excited about it. I didn't want anyone to come. I was adamant about that. And of course people, that didn't happen. And I was like, I know myself, like after the fact, I'm going to want people who love me and who know me and who want to support me out there in the audience. And I, of course, did. But the one thing that like really has been a theme for that night has been like healing. That word always comes to mind, because just like being there, you know, as the lead, you have the spotlight on you a lot more, like literally the physical light. So you can't see a lot of the audience, which is great for your first time to go on. So being there and feeling that, and feeling like I was almost alone, but knowing that everyone was out there supporting me was like such a healing experience. And to say things, like say the lines and sing the songs that are so closely related to my own experience was just like, it was so healing. There's like so much of me in that character, and I've spent so much time, you know, helping develop and create that character along the way. So it's like, it's very, very close to home. And I think that's part of the reason why I was so nervous, was like, this is the most vulnerable that I will ever be probably on stage, because it's literally me as myself. There's not a whole lot of separation between me and this character. And I mean, what a blessing, you know, that doesn't always happen. And then, to know that there was that kind of representation. And I always think about like the trans and non-binary youth, because of course I always wish there were more trans and non-binary people in the media when I was young. And I still wish there were more now, you know, like we need a broader pool of like representation, like broader spectrum of representation now. But yeah, that always hits home. It's like there are young people and kids out there who are seeing me do this, and it's like they know now that they can do it, you know, like I want them to know they can do it. So that was also very a part of the healing process in that night. It's
like
wild.
The moment was yours, but it was something bigger than that too. I know there was a lot of chatter in the kind of the theater trans non-binary gender non-conforming community about your performance, and you know, people kind of very, very excited about it. But it was like when you're in a moment that's bigger than you, it's overwhelming, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, I think as an individual, you want to like be able to live up to that moment. And I think you did. There's a lot of people saying that they were there that night. Val was there, and and Allie was saying she was in the first row. So, you know, you really, and some other people mentioning that too. And oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking. Ernie's here. He's saying e-money.
Hi, Ernie. E-money. Oh, Ernie.
Okay, so let's talk about, and please add your questions in the feed here, and we can get to as many as possible. I want to ask you about, this is something that is a topic that's important to you and to me, about mental health for the trans community, and you know, something I've been concerned about, you know, during this pandemic is how that's impacting folks who are trans at this time. You know, I'm seeing things like, you know, people's, you know, for example, people's, you know, surgeries being postponed, and, you know, and having to deal with the emotional letdown of that. And having to wait and the uncertainty, or being stuck literally at home with a non-supportive family. And the emotional impact that has. Can you talk about that, you know, just kind of your thoughts and maybe personal experience or personal insight into how the pandemic has a particular impact on the trans community?
Yeah, I mean, when you asked me to be on here, like, that is such a broad question, obviously. I know you know that, because the trans community is so large and so nuanced, and everyone's identity is different and everyone's situation is different, obviously. So I literally like organized my thoughts and wrote them all down, like, about this. So I'm going to refer to my little notes. Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, the trans community as a whole, we are I mean, depending on your intersecting identities, that obviously compounds in any given situation and circumstance. But as a whole, the trans community is already vulnerable. Some examples being like access to healthcare, whether or not you're able to get hormones, if you're medically transitioning, access to surgery. You know, there are certain states, I don't know how every state works, but like being in New York City already, that's a blessing, because we have gender affirming healthcare here. So, but it's not like that everywhere. And people can question, you know, like insurance companies will question the validity of someone needing hormones. It's also a controlled substance. So, you know, you have to get a prescription every single time. So like during this pandemic, if you've lost your employer-based healthcare, then you have a harder time getting access to hormones. I mean, you can't go to a PCP right now unless you are experiencing symptoms of COVID. And it's more expensive out of pocket. So hormones is one thing. But things like legal name change, like those meetings have been pushed back or postponed. So people are not able to attend those, which if you're medically transitioning, then when you go to have those documents signed, or you're trying to obtain a new ID, they might question the validity of your pre-existing ID because of your changes on hormones. Yep. Or let's say, you know, during this pandemic, I'm very focused on hormones right now. You're on hormones during this pandemic, and maybe you haven't come out at work, and you haven't like said that at work, and you're changing, like your body is physically changing, and you return to work, you have to deal with the social change, like once you're back in the workplace, you know, having been gone however long.
Right.
If you're not doing like video calls, things like that. So, I mean, trans people just like in general are 3 times more likely to be unemployed than cisgender people. 29% of trans folks live in poverty, and 1 in 5 will experience homelessness. And like, gotta read the facts. Yeah. They'll experience gender discrimination. And like I said, that only compounds with intersecting identities. So if you're like a fat, Black, queer femme or trans femme, as an example, And so, you know, the economic fallout due to Corona only exacerbates these existing disparities for trans people. Not to mention, if you're, you know, like you were saying, if you're stuck at home, if you're a trans or queer youth stuck at home with people who are not validating your identity, that can be, I mean, that takes an extreme emotional toll. When when I get misgendered like that, and most of the people in my life gender me correctly 24/7, you know? So that one time that I hear the wrong pronouns being used, like that takes a long time for me to recover from that, like the bounce back of that. It's so important to use people's pronouns that, like, if you're stuck in a home where you're only the wrong pronouns are only being used, it's like, I have like other things for people to do, like if they are stuck in a home. I was like researching, you know, like all the things you could do, because I know I've done some things, but I'm in an affirming household, so I was just like, what can these little queer youth do to like bring themselves closer to themselves when you're not being validated?
Yes. It's so important, and especially with the suicide rates for for LGBT youth being multiple times higher than it is for cisgender youth. It's a serious concern. One resource people could access is the Trevor Project. If they don't know,
I lost you for a second.
If you don't know about that, what did you come across?
You're a little choppy, so I think I heard, what did I come across in, I can hear you.
Oh.
I can hear you now.
Oh, dang it. Right.
Technology. Okay, we're back?
I think so. I can hear you.
Great.
What did you have as resources?
Mine are literally like physical things that you can do. I have like long lists, but yes, like Trevor Space, Trevor Lifeline, Trevor Text, Trevor Chat, LGBT National Help Center, the Trans Lifeline, which is by and for trans people. But yeah, some big ones were like writing your name over and over. Am I back?
Okay, welcome back. Act 2. This seems to happen more times than not. So sorry, everybody. Come on back and rejoin us. Hi, Maya. Looked into like so many ways to try to fix this, and it's probably like a local bandwidth issue. I just hate that it like interrupts the flow of the conversation. Okay. Hey, hi Brian, hi Christy. For Act 2, let's see how many acts this we have in this opera. Oi. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Okay. Bandwidth issues.
I know. That's like, it's like, no, sorry. It's just like, this is the reality right now, right?
It is. And if this is the biggest problem we have today, then we're lucky.
We're doing good. But I think we left off with like some things, resources, and I was
writing your name over
Yeah,
and over.
like
I
writing your
love
name over and
that.
over, or like writing your pronouns over and over. I even thought you could like create an art project with your name and your pronouns.
Yeah.
I thought too, like creating a little space, like it doesn't have to be tied to spirituality or meditation or anything if you're not into that, but like kind of altar like space of like things. Like I have some crystals that I like, and putting some objects, like tangible objects, in your little space, and just like sitting in your space and breathing in your and imagining your authentic self. If you have the space to do that, doesn't even have to be big. It can just be little. And one article I read mentioned having like a secret hideout if you have the space to do that. Or when your parents go to sleep, if you're not affirmed in your household, when your parents go to sleep, like learning TikTok dances, or putting on an outfit that you wouldn't maybe be allowed to wear out in public. But I really loved, like, if you're not physically able to express your gender identity, and express your gender the way you want to, having like a tangible object that reminds you of who you are. Like I have some pronoun pins, or I think I have a pin in here right now. I'm gonna grab it. Oh yeah, this is one of my favorite pins. It says, "Trans lives are human lives, fucking obviously." And it's the colors of the trans flag. So little things like that. Yeah, like media too.
Awesome.
I think media can be a tricky one because there's so much and so like breaking up your media intake, queer elders or queer heroes, to keep you connected to a broader community, to know that like trans adults exist, like following trans people on Instagram if you have access to that. Because trans adults exist and they're alive and they're doing well. And so like for youth, that can be so important to see that. Yeah, so it's an important one. Uh-oh.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and even having this conversation is really meaningful to people. I think that's what it sounds like people are saying. I mean, if you have never watched Paris is Burning, that's like, you got to start there.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Start with Paris is Burning for sure. Pose, which is like based off of Paris is Burning, like a contemporary kind of. Let's see. I know there's queer comics out there. I don't know exactly, but I know that there are like queer and trans comics. I did look up like YA novels one time, but I can't spout any off right now, of course, off the tip of my tongue. I have a lot of Instagram handles that I can drop. The comments to follow.
Nice.
There's a lot that I have listed here.
That would be awesome.
Great.
Hi, Courtney. We want all of the resources, and I would also add as a resource. Of course, I'm going to say this as a psychologist, that if you're looking for a therapist, one really great accessible resource is and we're all listed by our specialties. And so if you're looking for somebody who has experience working with gender identity, which
Hmm. There you are. Coming back. Hmm.
First one in there. Welcome back. Welcome back. Sorry for the interruption. A very quick intermission. I hope you made it to the bathroom because those lines can be terrible at the theaters. You know how that is. Thanks for coming back. All right. Welcome back, everybody. All right.
Yeah.
Yay. All right.
A play in 3 acts.
Yes. Friday was a play in 4 acts.
Ooh,
and,
fun.
Yeah, we decided it must be like a very long opera because, 4 acts.
Yeah.
So I was just saying, Psychology Today, you can
Yes.
filter by, people work with the trans community, find a therapist who has that specialty. Now's an easier time to access it in a way because you can sit at home and therapy. So
Yep.
I would highly recommend that, especially if you don't have the support that you need at home, but can access therapy, because the value of having an adult in your life who is gender confirming and supports you and guides you through your social and medical transition is invaluable, and you deserve it.
Agree.
Yeah. So keep those questions, bring those questions back, please, that are now gone into the ether, because we had to restart.
So sad.
I know.
It's all right. They'll come back.
Yep, they will. What have you been watching, for entertainment?
Okay, well, I didn't realize how much I love sci-fi. Okay, like supernatural kind of element. Okay, so I started with The Watchmen. Have not read that comic, but I watched it and it was amazing. Really mind-blowing and just like kept me on my toes the whole time. Like nothing makes sense till like the last 2 episodes. And usually I hate that, but I think because like when there's no stimuli, I'm like, I'm fine with it. Like give me some drama.
Yeah.
That I just recently watched Mae Martin's the comedian Mae Martin's new series called Feel Good. That's queer media.
Okay.
And also very funny, also very quick to get through. Got through it in one night.
Nice.
The Outsider, I'm like listing my faves. The Outsider, the Stephen King novel.
So good.
Oh my gosh. Really, really great acting. So freaking scary. Like so scary, but very worth it if you're into that. And then Barry. Barry on Hulu, I think. Whew. Quick, dark comedy, hilarious. Also has like some scary moments sprinkled in. So I love that kind of stuff. So those are my top recs right now.
Those are good ones.
And Planet Earth.
HBO. Barry might be on HBO.
Oh yeah, Barry's on HBO. Thank you. Thank you.
Brian is asking who's been an inspiration for
you. Like any Black trans woman out there, I'm thinking like India Moore, I'm thinking like Yari Jones, if you don't follow these people, do. Erica Hart.
India Moore is like a sage.
Like, I can't even talk. I don't have the words.
They are, I can't believe how young they are because
I know.
The knowledge. Yeah.
Alok, I forget their last name, but ALOK. Yeah, just like these amazing, like these trailblazers to whom we like the trans community owes all of our rights, basically. So those people are my inspiration. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Alok Menon, thank you.
Uh,
Oh no. Are you back? A little froze. Now we can't hear you. It's going to be a play in 4 acts.
We're doing an opera today. This may be, theater discussion, but we got the opera going. Hi, Maya. You're always the first one in. Back in. We're going to do this. Back, everybody. All right. Yes. 4 acts.
Woohoo! It's more exciting this way.
Oh yeah, the suspense, right?
Right. And that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, because we don't have enough suspense right now in
No.
the world outside.
Right, exactly. Global pandemic, who?
Yeah. Incompetent president, who?
Don't know him.
Yeah. It's interesting. Hey, Marshall. It's actually interesting. My professional group, the American Psychological Association, we as psychologists don't usually speak out against public figures, or not even against, but speak on the mental illness of public figures since the Barry Goldwater incident. It's actually called the Goldwater Rule, where some psychologists didn't have enough information and made a judgment on his fitness for office, and it was inappropriate, and it actually cost him the election. And so we don't do that. We're very cautious, unless the caveat that most people don't know about is that unless there is a imminent and significant threat to the common welfare, to the safety. It's kind of like the same kind of idea as like breaking the breaking confidentiality if somebody is actively homicidal,
right?
Knows who they're going after, knows how they're going to do it, has
right.
the blah blah. So actually, we have the AAPI has spoken up, and many prominent psychologists saying that is a person with malignant narcissistic personality disorder, and so not even being political. It's not political. It's
right.
He is a danger to the common good, and this is just another example of how he is. And part of the reason why it's good to limit news intake, because it can be really angering, and that anger. And so I'm saying it to psychologists publicly, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. He's a danger he's a threat to the public safety. And I will 100% stand against that, because there's also, yes, we never see him in his private life, but there's also every single thing he does is consistent with that diagnosis.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's so validating. That's like very affirming to hear, honestly, because it's like, it's separate from politics at that point. It's like, you are a licensed professional being like, this is a literal disorder that checks all these boxes.
and I want to make a distinction too, because I don't want to kind of bring a bad name to mental illness, because part of what I'm doing here with this platform is to try to break down stigma. So like you being on here talking about gender identity helps break down that stigma and maybe make somebody feel seen, right? That's not a mental illness. Maybe let me make that distinction, but that's part of mental health is identity.
Right.
Or somebody coming on and saying they have depression or anxiety. So my point being that malignant narcissistic personality disorder is unique among the diagnoses, because it is one of the very, very few diagnoses where the person doesn't suffer. everybody around them suffers. The defenses are so wholly complete that they don't feel anything. I mean, they do, but it's not like distress.
Right.
All of us are distressed,
Yeah.
but they're not. So that's a totally separate category. Yes, it's a mental illness, but he's not suffering.
Right.
Whereas if if he had depression,
right.
like if he was Abraham Lincoln suffered from depression. He suffered. This guy's not suffering. We all are. The harm's to us. So, it's everything that people are experiencing, the fear, the concern, the anger, it's all valid. Yeah. But don't sit in the anger, right? Because watching the news obsessively, the anger hurts you if you're just sitting with it and ruminating with it.
Yeah.
That's why we got to limit ourselves.
Yeah. I hear that.
Yeah. Ugh. My daughter's on here. She said, Mom, hi Maya. Mom, tell them the story of people not wearing masks. Oh, I had to go pick up something at the store, and there were people not wearing masks. And and we talked about it, and it was angering. Yep,
that is.
Yeah. So Allie's saying, now I feel politicians should be evaluated for fitness, mental health wise. So, and the interesting thing about politicians, successful politicians, is that actually a lot of them have traits that in personal life are very, they're not good traits in personal life, but they make them successful politicians, like being like healthy levels of narcissism or self-centeredness. So it's interesting. So like things that you would you'd score somebody and say, oh, this person is problematic in this area, actually makes people successful politicians. Yeah.
So interesting.
It is. Yeah. Have you thought about what it's going to be like to get back on? I know we don't know. There's a lot we don't know. But like, have you imagined that? What the power of the message of the show, the message is going to be in this new context?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's going to be very unifying, like to be able, when the government mandates that we're able to meet in groups larger than 500 people, that's going to feel probably weird.
Yeah.
Because I know just from like being in my house as much as possible to like accidentally running into someone I know who also lives in my neighborhood on the street, I'm like, I don't know how to act. Like, I don't know how to be around you. I've like forgotten that I'm like a social animal. Like, what's happening? So like to be in a space with 1,500 people plus everyone on stage I think it's going to be really emotional. Like at least the first performance back, and I think it's going to be emotional to go back to the first rehearsal. I mean, these are people that we spend every single day with, I've spent every single day with for the last, I spent a lot of time with them over the last 3 years, and then every single day for like the last 6 months. And it's like, that was an adjustment too, not only performing and like having a creative outlet every night and a physical outlet, but seeing the same people and having this bond with these people that you've literally created this show from day one. That's what's, so special about our company, is that we've been together pretty much from day one. And then, to be back in the same rehearsal space, I think it's going to be emotional and unifying, and it's going to be a lot of things. It's going to be like kind of overwhelming, I think.
Yeah.
But the message of the show, just reiterating, like the message of the show, I think is going to be that much more like ready to be heard and received, and felt.
I think it's going to be healing. It always is, to varying degrees for people in the audience and for you guys on stage, from what you're describing. But I think it's just going to be healing just to be together in community and feeling something, together, when we've been feeling things alone together.
Yes.
I think it's an immense experience.
Yeah.
Somebody had a great question up here. Abigail Reeves, if you feel comfortable, could you talk about being do you say NB or NBI?
NB.
NB person auditioning in the Broadway world.
Well, yeah, I get this question a lot. You know, because I've been with Jagged for so long, it's been a while since I've like been in a physical audition room. I mean, I have over the last 6 months, but it's tough, honestly, because I don't know. Okay, I'm a dancer. Let me start here. I'm a dancer, so typically, like, I look to go to a dance call first. That I think for me is going to be shifting in the future, or like now and in the future. But when I was first auditioning as a non-binary person, I was like, okay, I'm non-binary. Like, how do auditions work for me now? I looked to dance calls, and dance calls are often split between men and women. And then, you know, perception plays a key there as well, because people behind the table are looking for men and women who fit a certain idea of what men and women should look like. So I was, you know, I am awarded a lot of privilege, so I felt, you know, I mean, I felt very anxious and nervous, but I felt confident and safe enough to go into a male dance call pretty early on when I first came out as non-binary. I went to the Hamilton dance call. I actually went to the men and the women dance call. It was what a time. What a time. I'm like, I'm neither of these things. Like, right. That's what sucks about it, is like, I'm neither of these things, and like, why are we still like structuring auditions in this way? I think we're kind of moving into this idea that like anyone can look like anything. Like, gender is not just visual. And you can't assume someone's gender based on their presentation. So I'm hoping that we're like moving in this direction of like, movement is movement, and everybody has a different skill set, and you don't have to be a man or a woman to have a certain skill set. That's what I loved about like the Jagged dance call, was like everyone was doing the same thing, and it didn't feel gendered ever, in a way that was like, you know, partnering. Anyway, I digress. I mean, it all intersects, but yeah, it's very interesting. Specifically for dance calls, because it's very binary still. For TV and film, it's like more fluid, because they're kind of like, we don't really care what gender this person is. Like, we welcome non-binary people, and like, if the character uses these pronouns, like, it's fine. Like, we can change it later. That's kind of like the feel that I get. But musical theater, I think this is like a completely different topic. I'm like, we have to have a whole other session for this. And I've been talking about it a lot recently. Just like, needs to have a whole restructure kind of thing, because, you know, we have these old musicals that are like so set in these character archetypes, and quite honestly, like, everybody who's running it is like white, typically a white man, like a white cis man. So I think, you know, it starts like with the creative side of things, and with more casting offices learning a lot more about like, and unlearning about gender. And I think they're like, that is starting to happen. So yeah, I don't know if that exactly answers the question, but I think we're kind of in this, just like,
we might be going to 5 acts.
Oh, really? Oh no. Am I back? Yay!
Yes. Right. So the restructuring the way, it's interesting that, especially in dance, that it's so binary. And,
Yeah.
you know, yes, we have these old musicals that, it takes a really special group of people to produce a revival that breaks the expectations and the mold. You know, I'm thinking of the Oklahoma revival that
Yep.
felt very, like kind of genre busting, category busting. But I think too that the producers, like, giving opportunities to more to producers besides white cis men, right? Because it comes from the top down. Thinking about a show like Emoji Land, and Jacqueline Bell, a producer who's a woman of color, was the lead producer on that. And lo and behold, that was a show that was the character breakdowns was not there, and it was not by any ethnicity, and gender and ethnicity are not mentioned in the show at all. The characters are just the characters. And I'm with you. I wish that it was more. Yeah, I wish that things were more.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Ali asked an interesting question. If those, those roles were restructured, is there a role, the limitations, it's really limitations. If they were broken apart, what character would you take on? What role would you want to take on and make yours?
Okay, I get this question all the time, and I'm like so dying to play Orpheus in Hadestown.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I would buy a ticket for that. 100%. I think everybody here would love that. I love that.
Yeah, I'm just like all of that material. I'm like, I want to sing it. I want to be playing a guitar on stage. Like, challenge central. That would be a challenge for me. Yeah, that's just like, that's the one.
Yep. Okay. People are saying yes, yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love that. So to kind of wrap up the conversation, I think some of the things that were themes today were from the producers on down the hierarchy matters. That if you're a youth, questioning your gender identity or struggling with being in an area or a space where you don't have the support, your family's not gender confirming, do what you need to do to survive, get through tools that you mentioned were great. I'm going to be actually borrowing that one about writing your name, writing your pronouns.
Yeah.
I love that. Try to find places that or communities that are confirming, because you deserve to feel seen, to be seen, and you're important. And that I think another theme that we talked about was that the idea, I think, some of this is preaching to the choir, but some of it isn't. Some of the audience here today, that the idea of gender being binary is a fallacy. It's a complete fallacy. And it's just what we've been taught and socialized to. And it's wrong. And it takes nothing away from anybody's identity to accept that.
Right. That's the biggest part.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That could be a whole other conversation.
Yeah, totally. I'm like, we could go in on that.
Yeah. So maybe we can put in the post the additional resources that we wanted to share in there, so that folks have that. I'm tech challenged, so I think I'm going to get this on IGTV if you didn't see the whole thing, but I can't make promises because I'm tech challenged, but I'll do my best.
All right. I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah.
So
I have very few talents in life. It's really like watching shows and creating a very quickly an informed opinion about it and making cute babies. Those are like my two talents.
You have very cute babies.
Thank you.
You have many more talents, trust.
Well, if that's all I got, I'll take it. That's not so bad. Okay, and then if you have any questions or concerns or want to continue the conversation, I'm at the Dr. Drama. You are at
Ezra_Menas, first and last name.
Fantastic. So thank you everybody for, Shoshana Broadway show is going to help me out. She's my friend who knows tech stuff.
Amazing. Thank you, Shoshana.
Yes, she has.
Great.
She's awesome. She knows what's up.
Love
Yeah. So thank you everybody for joining us, being part of the conversation. Ezra, thank you for sharing your thoughts and your experience and kind of where you're at right now. Really appreciate your time and your heart.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Laurel, I'm going to try to save the story. I'm going to try. This is not one of my talents. Shoshana's going to help me. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe and well.
Yes,
Bye.
be well.